Hey, Brett and Heidi. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to see you guys. You're back from Bermuda. You're back from your Viking cruise. We are so excited to hear about it.
So it was an amazing trip, and we can't wait to share a little bit more about it. And we kind of thought it would be fun to go back and do maybe episode 2 of State of the Seas.
There you go. Awesome. Yes, the state of the seas, it's getting more and more exciting each day.
So
I want
since we last taped, there has been a lot of things going on in the cruise industry. So Viking Orion sailed out of Bermuda. The Edge sailed from Fort Lauderdale. Viking has some different ships going out of Iceland. And I think there's lots more, right, Donna?
absolutely. So it's kind of crazy. It's like little by little baby steps, but by August, there should be 26 ships sailing out of US ports like Galveston, Fort Lauderdale, Seattle, LA. So, I mean, for us, 26 ships sounds like a lot right now because it's like kind of like we've had none for 15 months. So it's very exciting. Things are really picking up.
So Heidi and I wanted to share a little bit of the trip that we just came back from. So we did go out on the return to sailing for Friendship Tours in the Ship Shop, which was on the Viking Orion, June 22nd to the 29th. And this is a picture we actually took from Tobacco Bay. And the ship is right in the harbor out by St. George. It's actually, we had tendered in, and it was an amazing day. But I thought we would walk you through what it's like. And Heidi, I wonder if you could just share a little bit of what cruising is like now after the pandemic.
Well, ahead of time, it was a little challenging getting through all the paperwork ahead of time for sure. But the second we stepped aboard the ship and they handed us a drink,
It was worth it.
Oh, it was totally worth it. The water was beautiful. It's like turquoise is my new favorite color.
Oh,
And the service and everyone was so friendly and so pleased to see us. I don't know, made you feel special. And it did feel special. It was just glorious.
So a
it kind
little
of gives me
background.
goosebumps looking at that cruise ship sitting out in the harbor. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like so long. It's awesome.
So kind of a little background on this. This was the second sailing of the Bermuda itinerary. So for those that don't know, what Viking did is they had us actually all fly down to Hamilton, where we boarded the ship. We then were in Hamilton for 2 days before sailing out. We're going to show you some pictures of this. Then we did a loop around Bermuda, so out at sea, before coming into St. George's. We tendered into St. George's. We stayed overnight on the ship and then had a whole nother day in St. George's to enjoy Bermuda. The nice thing is we were able to come and go. And we're going to talk a little bit about how they were able to pull that off. And then we got back on the ship, went out, did another loop around at sea around Bermuda before going into the Royal Dockyard. So if you think of Bermuda as a big fish hook, we were kind of at all 3 of the ports and from the different areas. So we're going to show you each of those. But the trip, of course, starts with the air flight. And if you haven't flown, air is a little bit different than it once was. Yes, you do need to wear your masks on board. So we had gone through some of the paperwork that Heidi was talking about. So Heidi, do you want to take this a little bit and talk a little bit about going in and out of some of the different countries?
So we had to, for this cruise, definitely had to be vaccinated. We had to get COVID testing ahead, but it was really easy at CVS. They just emailed us our results. It was easy. Bermuda required that we upload our test results and copies of the vaccination card. And it sounded scarier than it actually was to do it. But there are a few moments there I was like, oh, this is hard. But then once you did it, it wasn't hard.
Right. And I think, the intention is there to keep you safe. So, you go through this little bit of work or, a little bit of stress before you go. But it is worth it.
I felt really confident on the ship because I knew everyone there was tested and everyone was vaccinated. And so you felt really comfortable.
So as Heidi said, we flew, we actually went from Newark, New Jersey on a direct flight right into Hamilton. We went through the process getting through customs and through the new protocols. They make sure everybody's been cleared, that you've had those tests that we had talked about. And then we walked outside of the terminal, and there was the Viking mini coaches waiting for us, and they whooshed us off to the ship where we boarded in Hamilton, and then we arrived. And this is a picture of our stateroom, which if you haven't been on a Viking ship before, the ocean ships, they are amazing. All the rooms have balconies. There are no inside cabins. This is do you remember what's our class on this one?
A mini
Oh,
junior
this is
suite.
Was it a penthouse veranda, I think?
I think penthouse
Yeah, but-
veranda.
but
So
they're all similar. Like we've been on
Yeah.
another one too, is very similar, but it does kind of spoil you sometimes for other
So-
cruise
Mhm.
ships.
they're absolutely gorgeous. All the little details when you get in there, from the heated floor in the bathroom. It's one of the largest bathrooms at sea. It's just really nicely laid out. Now, one thing that was a little bit different is when we arrived, waiting for us was this on our coffee table. So what this is masks, extra masks. There's 20, 10 for each person. There's wipes, there's sanitizer, and those little test tubes there. Do you want to tell them about those, Heidi? It's her
We
favorite.
had to spit in those every morning to fill them up to the bottom line. Every man I talked with, this was not a problem. Every woman, and myself included, this was like a major challenge every morning. But we did it. It was a shared struggle. We all discussed it during the day, and it's got kind of laughable at the end.
So we had talked about on the last time when we did the broadcast, we talked about how people in the cruise industry were working to make this healthier, safer, cleaner than it's ever been before. And this is one of the efforts that actually Viking has done. They have an onboard laboratory. So now, not only have we been tested before we flew, we were tested when we arrived in Bermuda, and the second day we got the results from the Bermuda government. But each day we would do a PCR, what they call spit test. So you would fill these tubes to that lowest level, and then you would leave them, and the cabin stores would pick them each day. Now, in addition to that, we did either on their app or a handwritten kind of health safety. There were about 3 different questions that they would ask each day. And when you would go to have your meal, either at the buffet or any of the restaurants, they would have a little thing that you would put your face in, like an oval, and it would take your temperature. And then you were done for the day. You had checked all the boxes and you were ready to go and enjoy. And so if you haven't been on a Viking ship, they are beautifully laid out. They have all kinds of included product, and we can get into that on a different one, but we wanted to share a little bit of what this experience was like. So if you don't know what an Aperol Spritz is, that's that orange drink that's there. And this is actually at one of the specialty restaurants, which is included. So the first night we actually ate at the chef's dinner, chef's table, which is really fun. It's a 5-course meal, all paired with wine. Again, on Viking, wine and beer is included with all the meals. And of course, we had done a little walking up on deck to get ready. So under those beautiful blue skies.
We got half the ship drinking Aperol spritzes by the end of the cruise. It was nothing.
They are the way to go. It's 82 just about every single day, beautiful sun, and 78 at night. So
Perfect.
On our shore excursions, because they do include a shore excursion at each of the different ports in each of the days. So this was part of it when we were going around the island. And this will give you a feel for how beautiful Bermuda is. If you haven't been there, this is right near the aquarium, but it's a beautiful bay.
Water's rushing because the tide was going out.
Oh, that's it. That's
Narrow inlet from this big lake-like area, and the water's going out to sea.
The water is so clear. You can see the big
Yeah.
parrotfish and everything. And that's one of the smallest bridges on the island, but a really beautiful area. And just walking around Hamilton, these are birds of paradise, and you've got hibiscus and all kinds of different plants that are just everywhere. You know, Heidi's mom always says they would play a game where they would see if there was anywhere they could look that there wasn't a flower in bloom. One of the days we went off to the Crystal Caves, which if you haven't had a chance to do that, this is a pretty amazing spot discovered by some young kids. They actually had a ball go down through a hole. They went to get it and they discovered this unbelievable cavern. So those are all stalactites and stalagmites, and Heidi's showing off her muscles. They are pretty heavy, but they have one piece you can pick up, and she was able to put that right over her head. And the gorgeous reflections in here. Now, when they turn off the lights, it is complete darkness. They do it for a little bit just so you can get a feel for what it would be like going down in there. But it is a lovely place to go. This is Hamilton itself. So one of the big churches, Parliament, Victoria Park. And this was just taken from our balcony. And then, of course, after our 2 days in Hamilton, it was time to get ready to sail. And this was the official return to sailing for Friendship Tours in the ship shop.
The return to cruising for Friendship Tours in the ship shop as we get ready to sail from Hamilton, Bermuda.
Oh, I can't wait to do that.
Hi, Heidi.
Here we go.
And
Almost
so
a little teary when that ship horn blew.
Yes, of course.
we made our way up on top, and what was great was there were on the ship, a normal ship holds about 950 on a Viking Ocean. We had 400. There were 450 crew. So there's more crew than there were passengers. So we had not only the ship to ourselves, but we in essence had the island, and you'll see that a little later. But they were so excited to see us. This was everybody coming out in their boats to see us leave the harbor.
So people are excited to see us heading out.
This was the view opposite from our cabin. So we looked out over the city, and the people on this side of the ship looked out over the bay. But
Yes.
both views, I think, were beautiful.
And then as we continue to leave, that's the infinity pool on the back of the ship. There are actually two different pools on the ship, one in the middle and one which is called the infinity pool. And that's the best part, leaving and beautiful water and just making our way out to the ocean, where again, we're now about to do our first lap around Bermuda.
You had the ship to yourself. Look at that.
It kind of felt like that. So here we were out at the ocean.
Days like this is why we love to cruise. It's absolutely gorgeous out here as we leave Hamilton out to sea and make our way to St. George's and the Royal Dockyards. Bermuda has been lovely so far, and we'll keep you up to date.
And that water is just so beautiful.
Look at that.
So we were off, and on the Viking trips, the ships are great, but it's definitely about immersive entertainment, not only the areas that you're in, learning about the different ports. They have historians on board, but on this ship, the Orion is actually named for the godmother is actually an astronaut, and the Orion, of course, is all about space. And this gentleman in this picture is Charlie Armstrong. He's actually a NASA scientist, and he was our astronomer that was on with us. And his wife is over his shoulder. Not only is Karen an amazing lady, but also worked at NASA.
He's the Viking resident astronomer.
Wow.
It's his job.
And the coolest thing was one of the nights we actually learned about the moon, and then we went up on top looking at the stars and the moon with your own astronomer.
All right, that's incredible.
So it's all up. Go ahead, Donna.
No, I said I love that. I've always wanted personally to have a telescope where I live, because I feel like here in summers I should be able to see, everything up on the mountain here. But that to have on your ship and be able to learn all of this from him. Now, is he on every sailing this summer? Or?
So they're on all of the Bermuda sailings. And on this particular ship, that dome that's behind him in the lower left-hand side, that's actually another really cool entertainment that they have. It's actually a 3D product. You go in there and you can see things like the Northern Lights, a space program, Under the Deep Sea, and it's a really neat 3D immersive program.
It's like a theater.
But listen, they named the ship Orion, so
Yes.
you know, it all kind of goes together.
So then we did go and do some really nice sightseeing in St. George, went all over the St. George's around the town. But on our second day, we actually came off of the tender, which is a high-speed ferry on this particular one. And we came right off into the dock area, walked about a little less than, right around half a mile over through one of the golf courses, which you would have loved, Donna, and over to a place called Tobacco Bay Beach. And normally this would be filled, but we had the beach almost all to ourselves.
Wow.
And it was a Saturday, so there are a few locals there, and there's a wedding party from Boston there. So we did a little chat to make sure we're all Red Sox fans.
Oh, yes.
But we spent about 4 hours just hanging out in the water. The parrotfish are all over the place, and it was just gorgeous. And the ship happened to be docked, just moored a little bit past where we were. So you'll see that in some of the pictures. And then we walked back over the hill and headed back towards town, past things like the unfinished church. And of course, the town crier was in, and it wouldn't be St. George's without him. And it was just a great time. We stopped off for a dark and stormy. If you haven't had one of those, always worth the time. Gosling's rum, which is well known there, and the ginger beer, and of course an Aperol spritz. Now, this food on the right hand side is actually part of their marketplace, their buffet, and crab legs, shrimp, all kinds of different seafood, sushi, steaks, and that's if you weren't going to one of the specialty restaurants, which is included, or the main restaurant.
They served the buffet, so it wasn't like everybody was reaching in and grabbing the spoons.
Right.
You would just point to what you'd want and they'd put it on your plate.
So I think that that's what's going to happen on, you know, every ship going out at this point. And I think going forward, it's not a bad idea. Pretty much all of the cruise lines have said, listen, we're not going to get rid of the buffet, so you don't have to worry, but we're going to serve you so that we keep everybody from touching everything. And I think it's a great idea.
It was. Again, we talked about doing it better, cleaner, safer than before. They have wonderful sinks. They also have the hand sanitizer, but they don't use the harsh Perel on the Viking ships. They have this stuff that's actually pretty moisturizing for your hands, but has the alcohol in there. So the food is amazing. The entertainment was great. And we talked a little bit about the learning, but what people don't always think of is that Viking has their own shows. So they have their theater. They have a smaller theater where they do different programs, and the band plays every night. It's kind of like a little bit of a club. They have their strings and piano players, but these were some of the shows. And what's unique about Viking is all of their cruise directors and assistant cruise directors are actually performers as well. They have amazing voices. And this was the assistant cruise director. And Heidi, do you want to talk a little bit about?
His name was Michael, and I was just so surprised to hear he was so good. And the cruise director also sang, he's a tenor, an operatic tenor. And again, he sang at one event. I'm like, whoa, he needs to do a lot more singing.
Right.
So unique
Real
to Viking, each of them, the assistant cruise director and the cruise director will actually do musical programs in addition to all the dancers and singers that they have. And I wanted to share a little bit of some of this. So I have to be honest, being at sea and seeing a show really kind of choked me up a little bit. I really felt like, wow, this was back.
Mamma mia, here I go again. My, how can I resist you? Mamma mia, does it show again? My, just how much I missed you. Yes, I'm broken hearted.
So one of the, go ahead.
All these shows were also live streamed to the TV. So if you didn't want to leave your room, or take a little break, you
Oh,
could just sit and watch it in your room, and they're also
that's
recorded, so you could watch it later
perfect.
on too. If you know how these your calendar gets a little filled up on a cruise sometimes, so you can say, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'll watch this tomorrow."
Life without care.
I'm so broke. That's right.
They hate California. It's crowded and jammed. That's why the lady
Carol and her office would have loved you.
That's why the lady is a tramp.
So they had all kinds of different shows. The fun thing was not only did they do the singing and dancing, but they did a tribute to ABBA, to the Beatles, and then this show that the cruise director did. And he had actually been in Jersey Boys on Broadway.
Baby, you'll see. Who loves you, pretty baby? Who's gonna help you through the night? Who loves you, pretty mama?
Oh, where's Carol? She lived there.
I would have loved it.
Who loves you? Who loves you, pretty baby?
So it was just really fun. I will say the other neat things, they actually do under the stars. They have a big movie screen and do movies under the stars, which were the two that they
So
did.
you lay on a deck chair, and they bring you popcorn to your deck chair. And there's they did the movie All About Eve, and then they did The King and I. So different nights.
Nice.
Little entertainment for everybody. They also do a high tea every day at 5. The spa, which is included, not the treatments, but all the whirlpools and all of those. They did, they socially distance everywhere. That's why those first rows in the theater were empty because of the singing. They're still following all the protocols. In the spa, you actually signed up for a time and you were able to go down and enjoy the plunge pools, the sauna, the different wave pool that they have down there, the steam room, my favorite, the polar ice room. So lots of fun down there. Now this is at Royal Dockyards. So if you've been there, you might recognize that's
Yes.
Snorkel Park. And in essence, we had the whole place to ourselves. Down also in the Royal Dockyards, you've got the museum. I know, Donna, you've been down there before.
Yes. Yes,
And-
I loved Dockyard because before there really wasn't a lot there, but then it kind of became the home of cruise ships. And so for those that were like, oh, but there's really nothing up at Dockyard. No, that's so not true because there is a lot to do there now with the Maritime Museum, and you could swim with the dolphins there,
Yeah.
Snorkel
Snorkel
Park.
Park,
you've got
the
Clock
I
Tower
could have used more
Mall.
time there, honestly. We used our time on an excursion, but I could spend more
Yeah.
time there.
My girl's favorite spot is the glass blowing shop. So we would have to stop there, every afternoon before we get back on the ship to see what they were doing.
We were the first ship there in over a year.
Oh, that's
They
so
were really happy
amazing.
to see us.
So
They
then we went out on a yacht catamaran for not only a ride, but also a snorkel. And it was just gorgeous. This was a couple we met actually in the airplane on our way down from Newark. And it was really so much fun. I mean, the friendships that you built, we were on for just about 7-8 days. And there were 400 people. And I feel like we got to know
Meet
300
everybody.
of them,
Yeah, that's great.
It was just gorgeous. And then one of the other catamarans with us was called Good Vibrations. And as we were cruising along, we had a little Beach Boys come on.
Oh, that's so. Look at your weather every day.
82 beautiful sunny skies. Water was about 79 to 80 degrees.
And there's a high salt content in the water, so you float really nicely.
Ah,
So they had noodles you could use. They had snorkel equipment you could use. They had boards you could use.
So
They had
we
a
don't want-
bar on board.
but it
And
was
that included,
ahead.
right? They had the shore excursions are included. So you picked one in each port that you could do for free.
They have some that you can pay a little extra for, and they have everything from kayaking and doing some hiking, a little bit more active, to just simply a glass bottom boat Crystal Caves, that was really nice, but it's about 80 different steps down into the caves. But
Mhm.
this is some of the pictures coming into St. George. So that's the cut in the lower left hand. Think about it. They
Mhm.
used to bring cruise ships through there. They
I
still on
know.
the dock have the little Z for the Zenith and the Millennial.
Yeah, that's amazing. I did that on the Horizon back in the day.
Yep. So just a couple more pictures because Bermuda is so beautiful. You can't help but just
Mhm.
be in awe everywhere you look. And the water, these pictures don't even do it justice.
Right.
And so this was a party that they did for past cruisers and for everybody. And so the captain and his entire staff. But what I love about Viking is the people that work for them. They brought them all back about 4 months ago. They retrained everybody. They made sure everybody was vaccinated, that everybody was healthy. They knew what they were doing, and they definitely like to have things in order. And so as part of this party, they did a video of all the different departments. And on the right is actually housekeeping department. And this is the center of the ship. The atrium is what they call it. And this was a great way to kind of finish this out. They were waving goodbye to us.
That's great.
I'm going to bring some of that housekeeping staff home with me.
Yes,
Can you just
exactly.
come hang out here.
This was our return to cruising. It was on the Viking Orion, but there's lots of things that are going on. So if people are ready to go, I know there's still a few more sailings down to Bermuda. There's sailings that have started in Iceland on Viking. Some of the European rivers are coming already. They're starting back up. So if you didn't see on the last one, the wait is over. There is definitely cruising is back. We're ready to sail. They're working on all this. The world is back.
There were people on our cruise
world.
that managed to book the following week while they're on the ship. Like, can we just stay on another week? And they could.
Oh, that's amazing. We
Good
have our
blame 'em.
first, I think I would have signed up. I would have been right there. So you guys wouldn't have minded if I stayed an extra week, right? So our first guests going on the Rhine are actually leaving in 10 days. And they're going on a Viking Rhine River cruise, and they're getting ready to go. It's just so nice to be sending people again. And then, so we have a couple things coming up. We are excited that Oasis of the Seas is going to make its way to New Jersey and do a test cruise at the end of August. So that was announced recently by Royal Caribbean. So we're excited because we've had this cruise postponed 2 times. So we're excited on October 17th. We still have space available right from New Jersey down to the Bahamas and to Perfect Day, Coco Cay, which if you haven't been there, it's like Disney World in the Bahamas, and it's just great beaches and really fun day. And then Brett and Heidi are going to get on their next adventure. So if you really want to go with them and have some fun, they're going to be on the new Statendam in December. So that's out of Fort Lauderdale also, but a really interesting itinerary. It's Aruba, Curacao, and Half Moon Cay, which is also Holland America's private port. But with air, hotel stay in Fort Lauderdale, starting at $14.99, you can't beat that. It's such a good deal. So they just keep their bags packed pretty much permanently. So, if you want to
somebody had to test it out and make sure it was up to the standards.
I'm just so glad I talked you into it.
And so are we. It really was an amazing time. If you have any questions, you can always get in touch with us either through the website, friendshiptours.net, or our emails are simply our first name. So what mine would be Brett, BRETT at friendshiptours.net, or Donna at friendshiptours.net, or Heidi at friendshiptours.net. And anybody can help you if you give a call. We've got lots of listings on the website, friendshiptours.net. And we'd love to see you on the seas soon. And we hope that this gave you a good idea of the state of the seas.
Yes.
Thanks very much. We'll talk to you all soon. And remember, your journey begins with Friendship Tours, and we can't wait to help you continue on your way.
Nice to have you guys back.